topic up for today. Dr. Kiran Mahaswar, the guy who's written this particular article that I'm going to refer to, used to work with me in Mica. He used to handle
Oh,
Mica's marketing, right?
okay.
A few years ago in 2016, 2017, and I had the most wonderful times with him. He, like me, loves Pune as a city, and he's somebody who's been writing a lot of very interesting articles of late, not just pharma, but also a few others. And I'm going to use his stuff as a treasure trove. Kiran, my friend, you have suddenly grown a brain, have started writing a lot of stuff, which is quite amazing. In fact, I've written sort of co-written a couple of pieces with him a few years ago, but I
Oh,
genuinely think that he's doing a lot of inquiry. He's currently working as the assistant professor at IMT.
does
Yeah, but yeah, he's produced something really interesting about the Indian pharmaceutical industry, rather, which I want to set up. And it's his piece that I'm referring to, which is in the business world, marketing world. And what he's written about is that, the pharmaceutical industry was running to a certain playbook, and the playbook is essentially now being disrupted, because everything has become commoditized, everything has become generic. And the fact is that uh, the earlier generic commoditized model had a certain structure to it. So the doctor was the main force of attraction. Doctors were called into conferences, and a lot of the stuff was distribution oriented and push driven, right? Now we are seeing a big change into it because margins are wafer thin. There is a complete commoditization of a lot of generic drugs, and things like nutraceuticals and a few other molecules which are more brandable have come into the picture. So this is the setup really, and I'm wondering how you look at it. I mean, the way in which I'm looking at the pharma sector is from my experience of working a little bit with pharma clients, but I want to know, because you called it a convoluted industry.
Right. So, whenever we talk of pharma, there's not just domestic implications. There is geopolitical
Yeah,
instigations. There is economic instigation. Then there is price disparity
yeah,
within the Indian diaspora. Right. So, I completely agree with his viewpoint on what he has written, that the branding pharma should come into the mainstream branding.
yeah.
My concern is that number one, wherever you go, the marketing advertising route, it
Hmm.
becomes much less about the product and more about the story that you're weaving around it.
Yeah.
Now, for example, like wheat has been romanticized since so many years, right?
Yes.
Nobody even looked that wheat was not an inherent, a native Indian crop, and it has been wreaking havoc in our digestive systems since the last 5 decades.
Okay.
And now people have started realizing that wheat is not at all good for your health.
Yes.
Still, you see the brands talking about health, the health first brands, HRX, Fit Eats, and all of these Eat Fits and these kind of brands, right? They are still talking about we are healthy because we make 100% wheat products, right?
Hmm.
And because it has been marketed in such a way with your influencers, Ritik Roshan as your influencer and whatever, the public doesn't go beyond into the scientific study of it,
Hmm.
how bad wheat is for the Indian tract system, right? Now imagine this happening with your chronic illnesses or cancer drugs, life threatening diseases, right? Where any company with a good marketing budget will be able to romanticize any kind of drug that is not good for the public. Now secondly, till date, pharmaceutical was, as you said, sales driven, it was push driven. There was a nexus, I will call, of doctors, right? It wasn't just the doctors being pulled into the conferences or doctors being your point of contact. It was more about incentivizing the doctors. Any pharma company that wanted its drugs out into the market just incentivized doctors through either cash incentives or material incentives, whatever. Now, the big problem is that once the doctor has prescribed anything, the patient is not going to argue with the doctor because they don't know shit about chemistry.
Yes.
So everything comes to the doctors what they want to do. Now, obviously, once the marketing happens, the doctors and as influencers will push back, as influencers will be pushed back,
Yeah.
right? But if GSK is giving you a story versus a Pfizer is giving you a story versus a Dr. Reddy is giving you a story, for the public, whatever story makes more sense, they will demand a similar kind of a drug. Now, at one point, you have a doctor that is getting incentivized by, say, company X. At another, there is an advertisement that the consumer really loves about product Y. But both don't go well with the consumer, and this is a product Z that nobody is talking about, which is supposed to be a generics product, much less costly, much better for the consumer, right? So we have come into an ecosystem where there is nothing but a lot of chaos and nobody is getting what they really should get.
I think that this is what the problem is, Janavi, with what you're saying, is that facts tell, but stories sell. And
Exactly.
everybody's actually creating their own story and their own thing. But I think that, look, if I have to put my pharmaceutical hat on, right, and play tin pot dictator for a little while, and try to figure out, okay, so if I'm in the pharma industry, what should I be looking at in terms of marketing, right? Whatever I've got. So marketing, I would start with products. Which products should I be looking at
Yeah,
creating demand for, right?
yeah,
The second thing could be, okay, so clearly the doctor patient push sales distribution thing is being challenged by maybe spurious influencers peddling their stuff on Instagram. So what's the alternative here? I mean, I certainly
yeah.
wouldn't want them to cross the line and do some unethical stuff or do some dodgy, questionable stuff. But I'm wondering, is there a placebo effect over here for pharmaceuticals?
I think like you said about the product, right? It is important to categorize products into three different categories.
Yeah,
No, your number one will be your supplements, your vitamins, and
sure.
everything. Now they don't
Nutraceutical.
have a side
Yeah,
effect,
yeah,
right? So you can easily market them, and I think they should be marketed.
yeah.
Because the way the startups are going right now, if you look at Whole Truth or other D2C brands, if the
Yes.
vitamins start also taking the D2C route, number
Yeah.
one, there'll be a lot of competition, and people understand the basic supplements at least, so they'll be able to
Yes.
distinguish which is true and not true. Your
Yes.
second comes your OTC drugs, which India is the major exporter of too, right?
Yeah.
Now, this is something that again the branding should happen, because
Hmm.
branded generics are not really working out for paracetamol or crocine, because even a Nimulid is called as a crocine, right? So
Yeah.
where do you draw the line? So for this segment, which will also help India's economics a lot, because we are net exporters of OTC drugs.
Yeah.
So for OTCs which do not cause a lot of harm, marketing can definitely be a very good pilot test. If
Hmm.
it works, see how it works out, see who is getting affected by it. Is the rural segment able to keep up with the price hikes that happen because of marketing or branding, right? So this can be a very good pilot run, and there is not much fallback either if it doesn't work out. But the chronic illnesses, the life threatening diseases, cancer, thyroid, all of these, I don't think that we should touch the branding segment right now. There has been so much push towards the generic side. If you look at the government initiatives like the Jana
Yeah.
Shadi scheme, right, or PMBJP schemes, so there is a lot of push for generics, and it makes sense because 60% of the population of India cannot afford very costly cancer drugs, which was happening till the last 10 years,
Yes.
right? So these people, they deserve generic medicines that you get at certified authorities.
Yeah. So you're not only saying chronic, because chronic can include things like sciatica.
Yeah.
What you're
I,
saying
I,
is life-threatening, and things which are like things like cancer, or
yeah.
dementia, or stuff like that. So I think that there is a point to be made there. I would certainly look at. So I wouldn't probably use the word chronic. I would
Hmm.
probably use the word serious, maybe in a very simple way. What I completely and wholeheartedly agree with you, that probably that's the way to go. I still don't think that I have got the answer to my question as to what they should do for branding. Let's even say nutraceuticals, or even the off the shelf thing. Is there something that they're missing out on? I my personal feel is that they've been so used to playing into a certain playbook, which is
Yeah.
based on volumes, which is based on generic medicines, which is based on doctor, being influencer and all of that. That they're finding it really difficult to switch to a new playbook wherein the consumer has information symmetry and is pulling the doctor in, right?
Yes, yes.
So I
I
want,
think these, the OTCs and the supplement division, they can get a lot of inspiration from how the D2C brands have been branded.
yeah.
And obviously, that is what we are here for.
There's Janavi's subtle sales pitch. I'm not currently worried about too many sales pitches at the moment, but I do think that modern science, and I'd like to close it out here, saying modern science has clearly talked about placebo effect, right? Wherein if you believe that a medicine is going to actually help you, it apparently has a much better effect. Now, I'm no doctor. I'm not going to prescribe you taking sugar pills and saying that they're crocin, but the fact is that maybe, you know, pharmaceuticals themselves need to take a prescription on brand building. They might think that it's a placebo thing, but I think that it's probably going to be required for nutraceuticals and maybe even for off the counter medicines.
Yeah, it gives the consumer more choices, empowers the consumer a lot, and these are the medicines that consumer will happily pay for. Because I wouldn't mind paying 100 rupees for the 29 rupee Nimulet right now,
Correct.
frankly. Right. So there is a good margin for the mid segment or the OTC brands or the supplements, which is something that you won't die of a fever, of a normal
So
fever.
this is
So
what you're saying. $29 is a fact. Now, $29 plus whatever that's making it 100 is fact plus placebo, that's equal to story, right?
yeah.
And you won't mind investing in the story. That's a good
Right.
way to look at it. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for joining me as usual, Janavi. And I hope that people not got headaches. If you got headaches, take a crocin at the end of this this call. Okay. All right. Bye then.